This is WRUULP, Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings, community radio with global soul.
Good morning, Savannah. It's Wayne Waters. You're listening to Savannah Lexicon on WRUULP 107.5. We're streaming online from the heart of Savannah's downtown historic district. Savannah Lexicon, for those of you who may be new listeners, is a show designed to inform the listener about important social, political, and cultural issues that shape Savannah, as well as about opportunities to experience things in and around this beautiful city that might bring an added measure of grace and joy to your life. I speak with representatives of local government, social service organizations, cultural organizations, all sorts of folks, and pretty much anyone who can help shed some light on how to live a well-informed, full life here in the most beautiful city in the nation, Savannah, Georgia. As always, assisted by my trusty producer, Keith Baudry. We're on air every Wednesday from 9 to 10 in the morning, and we surely do appreciate you for listening. This show is going to be very interesting. Our guest is Kim Bakiasuan, the festival, the Savannah Book Festival executive director with your first festival in that
Very first
position.
one.
Yeah, okay. Excellent. Now, this is set to go starting actually tomorrow, right? Mm-hmm. Through the 19th in general, in and around Savannah's historic Telfair, Wright, and Chippewa squares, and by all means correct me if anything I'm saying here is wrong.
That's on Festival Saturday. We have 7 venues downtown around those 3 squares.
Okay. That's just basically on Saturday.
That's
that we're talking
Saturday.
about
That
there.
event's free and open to the public. We have 40 authors from 9 to 5.
Okay. Excellent. From 9 to 5 all day long. Unfortunately, I won't be here, but anyway, y'all enjoy because it will be nice. All right. Now, tell us, tell us about what's going to happen tomorrow.
Well, we kick off the festival, which is our 10th anniversary. So
That's
we're really
right.
excited
That's
this
right.
year.
Yeah.
We have a great program planned in celebration and a couple extra fun events. We kick it off tomorrow night at 6 p.m. at Trustees Theater. We have James Patterson as our opening address speaker.
Has written and sold 22 gazillion books.
He has the Guinness Book of World Records record for selling the most books. I like to say the only person who sold more books is God with the Bible. James has Patterson is a huge literary figure and a powerhouse in the publishing industry. He's been here before, but for the 10th anniversary, we invited him back because James has a special heart for literacy, for festivals, for getting books out to all people so everybody can enjoy the written word. So he's a big fan of the festival, and we're a huge fan of James Patterson. So he'll kick it off 6 o'clock tomorrow night. And then on Friday, we have our keynote address, which is National Book Award winner Colson Whitehead.
Yes, indeed.
Very excited about that. And so both James Patterson and Colson Whitehead are sold out. Colson sold out in 2.5 hours, which is a Savannah Book Festival record.
Oh, really?
Absolutely. Stephen King was the closest, but Colson kind of kicked his butt.
That's amazing. and I'm sure most of us know that he wrote The Underground Railroad, a huge hit, so to speak, both critically acclaimed and certainly quite popular.
Absolutely. Oprah picked it as her 2016 book club book. It doesn't get much better than that.
What more can you get?
You got the National Book Award as well, but I'm not sure which one has more impact.
Exactly. I guarantee you when he heard about the Oprah thing, he danced. He did a little dance. Wherever he was, he started dancing.
And then we have Saturday, we have the festival, which you talked about. We've got 40 authors, fiction, nonfiction, established authors, emerging authors, a really diverse array of voices, of genre. I'm really excited about who's coming to town. And then we close out on Sunday with Christina Baker Klein. She wrote the smash bestseller Orphan Train back in 2014. This is her next much-anticipated novel called A Piece of the World, and it's actually being pre-released here in Savannah.
Right. Yeah,
So,
first time.
First time we've had that. It'll be the
Excellent.
first time the book's available. The book is really interesting. I've had a chance to read it. It is about Christina, who is the woman that is pictured in Andrew Wyeth's beloved Christina's World painting. It's a painting that hangs at MoMA.
Okay.
It's a woman sitting, looking up a hill, looking at a house.
Right.
Pretty iconic for those who are Andrew Wyeth buffs. And she, as Christina Baker Klein's written a novel about how Andrew Wyeth meets her and why he decides to choose her as the model for many of his paintings. It's a great book. It'll be pre-released here. She'll be signing it. We have copies ready to be sold, and then it'll be released nationally later in the month.
Excellent.
We do still have a few tickets for Christina Baker Klein. So
Yes, okay.
you can call the Savannah box office at 912-525-5050 or go to savannahboxoffice.com.
Okay. Excuse me, folks. Now, you just told where you can go to get tickets. You do have your own website, right?
We do.
That is
SavannahBookFestival.org. And if you go on there, if you're planning to come downtown for Festival Saturday, that is a great resource. We have a map of all the venues. We have all the authors' schedule when they're speaking.
Lots of good info, yeah.
We have tips to enjoy the festival. We've had a few calls this week. Well, what if it's raining? We go rain or shine. All our venues are indoors. Bring an umbrella. Bring some comfortable shoes because it is around all three squares. And you may be in Chippewa Square at the Savannah Theater for one author, and you need to trek way over to Trinity United Methodist Church for the next one.
Okay. All right. Excellent. All right. Try and tell us a little bit. And actually, this is your first festival.
But I have attended, so
I've
I've experienced it a little bit. Right.
But, particularly that day of, I guess it's the big general one is
Festival Saturday,
on
February
Saturday,
18th.
the 18th. Try and describe that to us a little bit. What are people going to find? They're going to come out to one of the squares.
Right. So Telfair Square is kind of what we call Festival Square.
Okay.
On that square, we have a lot of important things going on. We have our book sales tent. So every author that's speaking on Saturday will also be available to sign their books. We ask that people buy their books at the Savannah Book Festival. In fact, it's a rule. And the reason is it costs us a lot of money to bring these.
Sure.
We fly these authors in, we put them up, we entertain them.
Absolutely.
So we ask that you buy the book from the festival.
Makes
the
perfect
author, of
sense.
course, gets their part of it, and then we get a little bit of it, too, to help support our activities. So the book sale tent is on Telfair Square. Okay. The author signing tent. So after they speak at one of our 7 venues, the author will walk to Telfair Square, and they will sign books that you have purchased there in that tent. And that's a huge hit for people. When you walk by any time on Saturday, there'll usually be some authors signing and people lined up, and the authors love it. It's a very relaxed environment. They're engaging with people who really enjoy them and have just heard them speak. You know, there's an emotional engagement that doesn't happen when you just walk into a bookstore and somebody signs it. So the authors really enjoy that part. There's also the information tent on Telfair Square. That's especially if it's your first time. It's a good place to check in, kind of get a sense of what's happening. A lot of people have a good information about flow and where you should go and what authors are speaking when and what your best strategy is to hear the authors you want. One of the biggest complaints I get is I'll get a phone call. People are like, my 3 favorite authors are on at the same time. And, it does happen. I wish I could have pleased everybody, but we only have so many time slots. So that's a great place to check in. The other thing that's new this year is one of the things is we don't really know who comes to the festival. It's free and open to the public. We have about 10,000 people who are here during the weekend, and we're trying to just get some names and contact information to let people know who's coming. You know, if you're somebody who's come to the festival before and I know in September that something exciting's happened, I want to be able to reach out to you. So we have a bounce back card on the back of the program. If you return it to the info tent, you get a prize.
Good. Oh, okay. Good. Yeah, because it's just good information for you guys to have.
Well, I just want to, if we have something exciting, we send it out on social media, but I know some of my people that are faithful attendees of the book festival, maybe not such Twitter people. So we're just trying to cover all our bases.
Yeah. Okay.
That's Telfair Square. The other thing that's new this year and exciting on Telfair Square is we'll be featuring 6 to 8 food trucks parked around Telfair Square.
Good addition.
When that became approved by the city, we reached out to Ryan Giannone at the Food Truck Association. He's been a fabulous partner. We'll be bringing in early in the morning a couple of sweet trucks that'll have coffee and something sweet to get you through the morning sessions.
can't believe I'm going to miss this.
And then in the afternoon, we'll have, we've got taco trucks and barbecue trucks and pizza trucks, all sorts of great food that'll be there in the square.
Man.
We have a dining area set up on West York. It looks like it's going to be a beautiful day. It'll be a great day to eat outside. If it turns the weather's not so great or you don't want to be outside, the Trinity United Methodist Church's Fellowship Hall is open inside to bring your food in and eat that.
Oh, man,
that
that's
entrance
excellent.
is off of West President Street.
Excellent.
So that's
a very
what's going
good
on
addition.
in Telfair Square. Now,
Yeah.
in the 7 venues, so our 7 venues are on Wright Square. We have Lutheran Church of the Ascension Sanctuary, which is actually you walk upstairs to get. And then the main floor is the Fellowship Hall. So those 2 of our venues there. Then on Chippewa Square, our newest venue, we just added this year, is the Savannah Theater. And I want to give a big shout out to them. They have just been great community partners. They were thrilled to have us come in. We needed a big venue, and they're
Yeah.
our biggest venue. And we could also show any kind of PowerPoint. Some authors like to have pictures to enhance their talk.
Right.
And because we use the sanctuaries mostly for our talks, that you can't darken them. So this was a great addition this year. And then we also have First Baptist Church across the square on Chippewa, and then across the street on Whitaker on McDonough Street, right behind First Baptist, is their fellowship hall, which we use.
Okay.
And then up on Telfair Square, we have 2 venues. We use Trinity United Methodist Church, which is
Right.
what we call our C-SPAN church, because Book TV with C-SPAN will be there filming live all day, all the speakers.
Is
are
that
going
new,
there.
or has that been the
That
case?
has been going on for several years,
Oh,
and they are
great.
absolutely wonderful partners. They come in with great enthusiasm. And what's funny about it is I got this job last spring, and my dad called me from Jupiter, Florida, and he's like, I'm watching the Savannah Book Festival. And it's like April. And I'm like, okay. And
Well,
they
yeah.
show it
They-
year round.
yeah.
So
That's good, though.
that's
That's great.
wonderful. The people that they are filming speak year round, and people hear about the Savannah Book
I
Festival.
wonder if that Brian guy is still the Bookspan guy. I can't remember that. He was kind of I think the originator. He used to do it all the time. I don't know if he's still there or
I
not.
don't know if he's coming this year. They are going to interview some of the authors before. This will be new. They're going to try and interview the authors before they step up on the pulpit, is where they speak from in the sanctuaries.
Step up to the, well, somehow that's fitting. That's very fitting.
So hopefully we'll get some more intimate interview as well as their speech that they give to us. And then our last venue is the auditorium at the Jepson Center, the Jepson Nieces Auditorium. And
okay.
we'll have some speakers in there as well.
Excellent. Golly.
And I think, from my experience being at the festival, it's best to go online, print out the schedule, kind of map out
sure.
where you're going to go.
Yeah.
There's only 15 minutes between sessions. To squeeze in all this goodness, we have to kind of tighten it up a little bit.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I would tell people is we have royal restrooms on every square. Our sanctuaries have historic plumbing, so we ask that people use the restrooms out on the square.
Okay. Man, you got this down pat.
Well, you know what? I've been working on it now for 10 months. If I don't, we're not having a festival.
That is excellent. Golly, I'm so sad I'm going to miss it, but I hopefully everybody listening to me right now on the radio is not going to miss it. This is one of Savannah's premier events, I think. It's truly a great thing to have in the city. And when you've got people on the level of, Patterson and Whitehead and Christina Baker Klein, I mean, we're talking high-level folks here, as well as a number of other great authors.
Yeah, we have Jay McInerney, who's a beloved author, has written a great novel. The third of his trilogy is Bright, Precious Moments. And it's, he started back in his first novel with these New York people meeting and falling in love, and now he's tracing a marriage that's in its, the people in their 50s and the things that come to us in our 50s as we've spent our lives with people and those challenges. So we have Tama Janowitz has a great memoir. Tess Gerritsen, who does the Rizzoli and Isles series on TNT. She's been writing books for years. She's coming and has been so gracious to participate. Paulette Giles, who was the runner-up for the National Book Award is
Oh,
coming
really?
to talk about her book, The News of the World. So we have some great, but then we also have some emerging authors who are, Yagi Yasi, who wrote Homegoing. Has been on many of the 2016 lists as one of the fresh new voices. She's going to be here. And Bola Mabui wrote Behold the Dreamers, which is a fabulous story about the crash in 2007, 2008. It follows a Lehman Brothers executive and his driver, who's an immigrant from Cameroon. And so as one man's American dream is rising, another one's is crashing. Just an interesting voices. Thomas Mullen out of Atlanta is coming, and he wrote a fabulous novel called Darktown, and it is set in the late 40s.
There's a little controversy about that.
Absolutely, because it was the 7 police officers who desegregated the Atlanta Police Department.
Right.
He's written a novel, a crime novel, where a black woman is found dead, and the last person she was seen in company of is a white man. And so it's a fabulous book. It's a great crime novel on its own, but the texture of the integration of the police department, the challenges those officers faced, and the decisions they had to make for their community and for themselves, it's a great read.
So, fiction, but based on...
Absolutely, based on the true story.
Based
He's
on
just
the true
taken
stories.
that episode in the history where those officers, and they came in. Several of them were veterans. They'd been in the Army during World War II, where the segregation plane was a little bit less because, when you're in a foxhole shooting at somebody, you don't care who they are next to you.
It gets real hard after somebody serves their country in that manner.
Absolutely.
To continue to
but
refuse
to come home and then
right.
take this on, knowing it's Darktown is what they called the area around Sweet Auburn.
Right. I'm an Atlanta native, actually. Yeah.
And so those officers were only allowed to patrol on foot, and they had to call for backup from their white officers if they needed to make arrests and things like that. So it's a great tale about, these people who came in and said, well, we need to do this. We need to make a difference. And now you look at all that's going on in our world today, and it was an important first step.
Absolutely. As imperfect as it was, Atlanta really did to some degree and in some ways sort of lead much of that sort of movement towards real, something approaching real equality back in the day. And it used to be, this is one of those marketing lines, frankly, but there was some truth to it. They used to call it the city too busy to hate.
Right.
Or referred to Atlanta as a city as too busy to hate because it was, blossoming at that time and really kind of blossoming into the larger metropolitan city it is. Now, what is his name again?
His name is Thomas Mullen.
That wrote Darktown. Okay.
He is speaking at 9 a.m. at the Savannah Theater.
Excellent.
On Saturday.
Excellent. Now, you may have mentioned, and I'm not sure, there were a lot of names going. Terry Kay, I think, is one.
Oh, we're so excited to have Terry Kay.
And he was the first.
He was our first keynote speaker in 2008.
Yeah.
He is, is a Georgian and is renowned nationally and across the state. And he has written a wonderful book called, let me get it right, The King Who Made Paper Flowers.
Right.
And it actually takes place in Savannah. It's a man who gets off the bus at the old Greyhound station in Savannah and finds himself in all sorts of unusual predicaments. So we're thrilled to have Terry come. And, as that's, again, part of our 10th to have our first keynote speaker be here as well is just great. And he's a wonderful, wonderful man and has real heart for the festival and was thrilled to be able to join us.
I've got to read that, too. I'm looking over the books here. I've got, to our listeners, I've got one of their little brochures, more than a brochure, a little booklet that they put out that has all of the books and authors and information about the festival. And these will be out and about, I guess.
They will. As soon as you walk into a venue, you'll have one if you want to stop at the info tent. But if you go onto our website, savannahbookfestival.org, and you go under 2017 Festival, there's a page called Saturday Schedule. And you can print that out beforehand if you want to map out what's going on.
But this is a great little bit of information to have here when you do get to the festival and have this to refer to as well.
One of the authors I'm really excited about is
Yeah?
Alexandra Horowitz. She's
Okay.
a nonfiction author. She wrote Being a Dog. So it's about how dogs uses their senses, their sight, their hearing, and their smell mostly. That their
Right.
noses they can smell things you and I can't even find.
Absolutely. I mean, I've even heard it referenced that they really, depend on their nose really more than their eyes.
Absolutely. And, we laugh. In my house, I have a lovely rescue dog who's 10, Golly. And I tell people she's a Brazilian cherry because she matches my floors perfectly. But we found her wandering down Bull Street when she was about 3 months old, and it's a great dog. I read Alexandra's book thinking I'm finally going to understand this dog that has such a big place in my life. I have in my dog, I don't know. But it was really interesting because one of the things is when we open the drawer where cheese is in our refrigerator, no matter where our dog is, she comes. Now I can open the vegetable drawer, the fruit drawer, no
Yeah.
response. And I always thought that it must sound a different way.
Yeah.
But after I read this book, I realized the minute I open the door, that drawer, the slightest
The
bit,
smell.
she is able to smell that that's
Sure.
the cheese drawer, and she thinks treats are coming.
So she really likes cheese,
She
huh?
does like cheese,
Okay.
like her mama.
Okay. All right. Okay. Excellent. I just what a lineup. This is great. So now let's just talk briefly about you. You've been in Savannah for over 20 years,
I have.
right? So you're practically
I say I will never be a native, but I'm inching towards local.
inching towards local. Well, I don't know, 20 years. I'm inclined to give it to you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I think I've earned it. I want to earn it. I tell people when we moved here, my husband and I have been married 10 years, and it was our 7th move. He was a journalist.
Whoa.
We moved here for him to be the managing editor of the Savannah Morning News.
Oh,
And I thought we'd be here 2 years. And I
Yeah.
tell people the soil is so sandy here that my roots went down quickly and deeply, and I'm never leaving. So we loved it. We raised 2 beautiful daughters out on Wilmington Island, and they've gone on to have great adult lives, other places, unfortunately. I'm going to lure them back here someday. But we love this town, and we love the people that we've met and the cultural environment. You know, I did several things while I was being a mom part-time, but the biggest thing I did as a development director for Historic Savannah Foundation.
Oh, okay.
For 4 years. And I just loved being part of that organization. Having lived out in the islands, that really immersed me into the downtown culture, the the historic architectural preservation movement. All that makes Savannah, Savannah would not be what it is today if those 7 ladies hadn't saved the Davenport House. If we didn't
Absolutely.
have, it's still ongoing, staff and board members and volunteers that are, true guardians of this fabulous jewel that we call home. So that was a real gift to me to be able to immerse myself in that. And then in 2005, Dan left his job, I left my job. Our children were pretty sure we had lost our minds. They were about getting ready to go to college. They're like, are you going to be able to pay for this? And we bought a change management consulting company, and we ran that for 8 years. So. But
Okay.
Dan has Parkinson's disease, which we're
Oh.
pretty open about. And we did that because
hear
we
that.
felt like, the newspaper industry at that time, was just so stressful. Maybe it'd be more relaxing for the two of us to own a business together and be life and business partners. Turns out that's not true.
I was going to say that could very easily go another way entirely.
Absolutely, just as exciting and as stressful. And then his illness, we decided to sell the company, and he had deep brain stimulation surgery, very successful surgery. We've rolled the clock back 10 years. He's
Oh,
healthy. He's out
excellent.
working. The business that we sold our business to, we're partners in, and he's working for them. So
All right.
great outcome. But after I got him healthy and got the business unwound, I kind of took some time for myself. Tried to write a book. Turns out I don't have that self-discipline. And was out to lunch last January with a dear friend and said, I might be ready to look for something, a little part-time job. And she was on the board of the Savannah Book Festival. Their longtime executive director had just given notice at the
Right.
board meeting that week. And she said, I think this is something you would be good at. And so I threw my hat in the ring, and I was lucky enough to be given this opportunity. And it's been the most intellectually stimulating endeavor in my 53 years of life. It's been fabulous.
I bet. Yeah, I'm sure it is. That's incredible. What a nice run there. I'm so happy. That's such good news about your husband.
We are
that part
blessed.
Of it, for sure.
Miracles do happen. We thank the medical community for being as smart and talented as they are here and in Augusta, Georgia.
Yeah. And Savannah Historic Foundation, we had Daniel Carey here. He was one of our earliest guests here on the show. Big fan of that organization for sure. So,
well, people don't understand that, in other cities that don't have this sort of preservation organization, money talks. And can come in and can pull a zoning permit or something, and all of a sudden, before anybody knows, something that's beloved is gone. I mean, I look at Johnny Harris as a perfect example of, and until it was threatened, we all didn't remember how much we loved that restaurant, perhaps. So things like so that's why Historic Savannah is so important. And I really applaud his efforts. I didn't work for him. I worked under Mark McDonald, who was his predecessor.
Okay.
But I just saw people, and they're volunteers and they're board members, equally committed to saving all parts of Savannah. I mean, they're doing work all over Savannah. We have the biggest national historic district in downtown Savannah, but then we have several historic districts all over. Pinpoint and Isle of Hope and Trolley Square. I mean, there's just other things, and they're doing great work.
Absolutely. Okay, I'll tell you what, this is probably a good time for us to take a quick break. We will not be going long, so you guys hang in there. We have got Kim Bakiasuan, the executive director of the 2017 Savannah Book Festival, with us, and we're going to talk more about that delightful event, as well as, gosh, who knows, other things too. So hang in there. We'll be right back.
And I did find a section for you to read.
Waters, and I host Savannah Lexicon on WRUULP 107.5 FM every Wednesday from 9 to 10. Savannah Lexicon is a conversation with representatives of this city's social, political, and cultural organizations. Give it a listen every Wednesday morning, 9 to 10, here on WRUULP 107.5 FM. We are back, folks. I am glad you're still listening. If somebody is just tuning in, our guest today is Kim Bacchius-Suen, the executive director of the 2017 Savannah Book Festival. I do want to let you know that this portion of WRUULP Savannah Soundings programming is made possible by a grant from Roly Poly Sandwiches, located at 114 Barnard Street. Roly Poly offers wraps, soups, and salads. More information at 912-233-8222 or rolypoly.com. Also, I just want to throw out there that if you enjoy our programming here at WRUULP, please support the station with a donation. As an individual, you can give any amount, become a basic station member, or become a serious fan of the station. To check out membership rates and to donate to the station, go to www.wruu.org/individual and select to donate monthly or subscribe to an annual membership. Again, to donate to the station, go to www.wruu.org/individual and select to donate monthly or subscribe to an annual membership. Thank you for listening and for supporting WRUULP. Now, we're going to speak more about this festival for sure, but I did want to give Keith an opportunity to tell you about a new show that he is hosting. He's my producer and tech guy here for Savannah Lexicon, but he decided he's going to host a show for himself, which is on Fridays. So tell us about that, Keith.
Thanks, Mr. Wayne. My show on Friday, the Spectrum Sci-Fi Show, I am playing 50s radio plays of science fiction, mostly Dimension X, a certain run of shows, a whole year-long thing. So there'll be a new one every week. I'll interrupt it with tech news, movie news, entertainment news, things like that, video games. So, yeah, if that's your kind of thing, that's up to your speed, then tune in Friday from 5 to 6.
Excellent. I'm so glad you're doing that, man. That's a good show. All right. Now, back to the business at hand here for Savannah Lexicon. We thought it would be a good idea to maybe read just a little bit out of the Underground Railroad. Kim, you were talking about there was sort of an interesting story about
Colson Whitehead and how we got him.
Colson Whitehead, yeah. And tell us about that.
Well, it's interesting. If I had called Colson Whitehead's publicist in October or November when all this really hit and said, hey, we'd love for you to come to the Savannah Book Festival, they'd been like, sorry, booked. But part of my job, in fact, one of the best parts of my job, in June, I go up to New York City and meet with all the publicists. They know what's coming out. We're trying to be timely. What we're hearing about in the spring when we decide who to invite is everybody whose book is out in the spring. Well, by the time the festival comes around next February, those books have been out and people have been talking about them for a while. So we like to have something a little fresh, like Christina Baker Klein. Not even out yet. We're featuring it.
Absolutely.
So I go up in June and talk to the publicist, which was really great. One of the things I was concerned about was why would people want to come to little old Savannah? I'm up in New York City, the country mouse in New York City pitching this festival. They love it here. We have an author host program where if you come as an author and you would like to be assigned an author host, they will give you tours, take you out to dinner.
Right.
whatever you, and that is renowned and unique to our festival. You know, what the publicists were saying is so many times people come to town and they're eating dinner off their lap in a hotel room. And here we have people showing Southern hospitality, and it's something this festival's known for, and word has gotten out in the author world.
And this city is such a beautiful, gorgeous city.
Well,
anyway.
that's the other thing. I'm like, why would you want to come to Savannah Festival? And in February, and I forget that in February in New York there could be a foot of snow, and here it's going to be probably 70 and sunny. So there you go. So anyway, one of the first publicists I met was Michael Goldsmith, and he represents Colson Whitehead. And they said to me, this is going to be a big book. And I said, okay, you know, that's your job, okay. He said, it's about the Underground Railroad. Okay. But it's actual trains and tracks, subterranean. I'm like, I'm in. I mean, that's a great concept. I'm in. I love that concept. So I brought it back to our author selection committee, which we actually have a group of volunteers who vet all the suggestions from our community, all the authors who submit, and then the things that I bring back from New York. And they kind of smiled and said, well, that's their job to tell you. And I said, I really think this is going to be a big book. And they said, okay, invite him for Saturday. So I invited him. He was our first invitation. He accepted immediately.
Excellent.
So then in August, I'm on vacation in New Jersey, which is what people from Philadelphia do, even though Tybee is just 10 miles from my house. But that's a long story. And I'm sitting on the beach, and I open up the New York Times, and they do a 2-chapter pullout of the Underground Railroad and make the announcement that it's the Oprah Book Club book for 2016.
Wow, you knew you hit the jackpot.
He immediately
then too.
shot to number 1 on the bestseller list.
Yeah.
Big thing. So at that point, we called his publicist back and said, we'd love him to be the keynote address. This first week in August, he said, we'd be honored. Flash forward to September, October, huge buzz. November, the National Book Awards are announced, and he is the winner. This is the first sitting National Book Award winner we have ever had at the festival. So we're ecstatic. We've had National Book Award winners, but not during the year that they were the winner.
And you've had Pulitzer Prize winners.
Absolutely, we have. But to be so current is just such an exciting time for us. So
excellent.
The book is really interesting. I've read it. I am an event planner. I'm not a book critic, but I will tell you, as an event planner who likes to read, I really enjoyed the book. Just an overview of it is it's a young slave on a plantation in Georgia, I believe, and she is going to run for freedom on the Underground Railroad. And she gets involved in this series of people who, like the real Underground Railroad, helped runaway slaves get from place to place, except here you go on a train under the ground and go to the next station. And then when you get to the station, they greet you.
Yes, and let me just throw in real quickly, because generally the Underground Railroad reference does not literally mean...
Doesn't mean trains, no.
It doesn't mean trains, underground or whatever.
It was people that helped. I mean, here at First African Baptist Church downtown, they were a station. I mean, it was different places throughout the Deep South that harbored runaways and helped them safely get to the next place.
Underground in the sense of under the radar, so to speak.
Correct.
Of
no tracks, no steam. It was
yeah.
steam engines that are in Colson's book that make me laugh. The thought of a steam engine rumbling under our feet. So anyway, so the section that you're going to read from is when Colson has Cora, the runaway slave, come to different stations, and he identifies them by state. And the second station she comes to is North Carolina. And she arrives to a very flustered station manager because recently they have outlawed black people in North Carolina. And so anybody was either chased out of town or murdered. And so she has literally arrived at a station that is inhabited in a community of solely white people. And so the people, of course, who are the station managers have heart for her and want to keep her safe, but they can't pass her on at this point because they have no outside information of the next station. They've hit a place where they must harbor her in their home because she cannot move on.
Okay.
And so she is now up in their attic, secreted, and her only way to look at the world is outside her window. And in the section you're going to read, her window overlooks a park, and this is what she sees outside of her window.
Okay, excellent. So, just a little bit from Colson Whitehead's The Underground Railroad. It had been just after dark, and the park was full of those afraid to go home. Cora wondered what waited for them, that they lingered so purposefully, the same people, week after week. The fast-walking man who sat on the fountain's rim, dragging his fingers through his wispy hair. The slovenly, wide-hipped lady, who always wore a black bonnet and muttered to herself. They weren't here to drink the night air or sneak a kiss. These people slumped on their distracted circuits, looking this way and that, never in front, as if to avoid the eyes of all the ghosts, the dead ones who had built their town. Colored labor had erected every house on the park, laid the stones in the fountain and the paving on the sidewalks, hammered the stage where the night riders performed their grotesque pageants, and the wheeled platform that delivered the doomed men and women to the air. The only thing colored folks hadn't built was the tree. God had made that for the town to bend to evil ends. No wonder the whites wandered the park in the growing darkness, Cora thought, her forehead pressed into the wood. They were ghosts themselves, caught between two worlds. The reality of their crimes and the hereafter denied them for those crimes. Nice.
Now you know why I won the book
nice.
award.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm sold. I have to admit I have not gotten around to reading this yet, but I'm certainly
It is a
going
fabulous,
to
fabulous book. And we're
make
just
time.
so blessed to have Colson Whitehead be our keynote address. And he's a lovely guy. I've had a chance to interact with him. Just a real genuine, wonderful man.
Nice. Good work getting him here. That was excellent. Excellent work. Yeah, that's going to be quite nice. Now, I noticed there's a couple of things that people may not know about the festival or the organization, and one thing is the fact that this, I think you call SBF at Schools program. Yes. So tell us a little bit about that. You mentioned it, I think, but...
SBF at Schools is a program we started a few years ago where we ask authors to come in a day early. And we pay for them to come in and have a day in Savannah, extra day. But then they would go into the schools, both public, private, secondary, and university, to talk to our students. You know, Savannah is such a rich cultural town, and to have these amazing authors in town and not have the chance to touch the lives of our students, who are our future, was just something that the board of directors felt it was critical that we did. The program had a little bit of a slow start, and last year we only had 3 authors that actually were able to participate. Okay. This year we had 19 authors
Big
agree.
Jump.
Half of our Saturday authors agreed to come in a day early and go out. We're in 13 public schools. We're in 5 private schools. We're at Savannah State, and we're also at the Deep Center, which is a wonderful literacy initiative. So we're going to have Mbola Mabui is going to go talk there. I am thrilled to have that many authors out touching the children and students of Savannah. That's a gift that these authors are giving us directly, and I think it's fabulous.
That is really good news. I am so happy to hear that.
You know, all our kids look at their devices all the time.
Yeah.
They even in school, they're in interactive environments, which I understand that's how kids learn. They're listening to people who still celebrate the written word, people who make their living by putting stories to paper. And whether you read them on an e-reader or on a hard copy book, it's still reading, it's still words, it's still, like you just read from Colson Whitehead, beautifully formed words that show these students what our language can be when crafted.
Absolutely. I think that is as exciting as anything else I'm hearing about this
festival. It was one of the things when I came on board. I really wanted to reignite this program, and I'm thrilled that it's been so successful. And a shout out to the public schools, to helping us place 13 authors. They stepped up, and we're more than happy to be good partners with us. So thanks to Judy Garland over there at Savannah Chatham County Public School System.
Well, that is an excellent program, and to have such a huge jump to the number of authors and schools involved this year is just heartening. And I sometimes wonder. I don't have any kids, so I really can't say that I'm really familiar with today's school system per se. But I sometimes wonder how much literature they're getting. And absolutely anything that gets a book in their hands,
absolutely,
or even if it's on an e-reader, is good. I mean, that's really good, and particularly, obviously, when you have the high-quality stuff that we're talking about here.
My daughters are graduates of H.V. Jenkins High School. Go Warriors.
Yeah.
And they did receive a great education. But I think sometimes in our school system, we have so many other issues going on.
Yeah.
The kids come to school with so many other issues, to pause and actually say, this is what great literature looks like, or this is what, we have nonfiction authors going into the schools as well to talk about subjects that those students maybe, never had heard about. And so I just think when I asked the authors, I didn't know who would say yes, and to have so many say yes and be excited about it.
Yeah.
And, most of them have real heart for literacy and students as well. I mean,
Sure.
People in the publishing world understand that's the future. We got to have people who read.
Absolutely, absolutely. And just these days, to have a young person commit to reading something of some length is a good thing too. I mean, I get the impression that they're all, anything that takes over about 10 seconds to read is about as much as they can handle. So it's good to, and this is me talking, folks. This is absolutely my comment here. But just to have something that you have to make a commitment to and get into the story and read through it, and as it develops, and notice the language, and that's a good thing.
We have a sponsor who has real heart for the Savannah Classical Academy, which is a charter school here in Savannah, and he sent 35 copies of Ya Gyasi's Homegoing to them months ago so that they could read it together.
Oh, excellent.
He sent copies to go home to parents so that parents would understand. And now Ya is going to go to that school and interact with those students after they've read her book. And she'll talk to them generally. And then there's a small group of students who have shown a real desire to delve deeper into that story that she will meet privately with. So, I mean, that's the kind of opportunities that I'm thrilled the Book Festival is able to provide the Savannah community.
Nice. Now, speaking of books and authors, I have seen it noted that your favorite author was the late Pat Conroy.
Absolutely.
And a Low Country, South Carolina guy. And so he's somebody you really...
Well, I even though I'm inching towards local here, I didn't live my whole life here.
Yeah.
And I read Pat's books well before I came to live in the Low Country.
Right.
And was mesmerized by them. My family had vacationed for years on Hilton Head, so I was familiar with that area.
Okay.
But the idea of these marshes, the idea of this... slow speed of life vis-a-vis the drama of reality. He's always been an absolute favorite author. And I had the opportunity to hear him when he was a keynote speaker at the festival several years ago.
Okay.
What a gift to hear him tell his stories in person, to see his, I don't know if you've ever met him, but he is larger than life in personality and tone.
Yep.
He's was a master storyteller. So when I was up in New York, I met the publicist for Cassandra King, who is his widow, to say that they were publishing posthumously a group of essays called Low Country Heart by Pat Conroy. And they're a group of essays he's written about this place we call home. And it came out in October. Cassandra, who is a published author in her own right, wrote the preface. And she is going to actually present his book as part of our festival Saturday. So I'm very excited to have her here. I know she's going to have a warm welcome from this hometown crowd, and we all miss him desperately. It's a voice that is lost, but hopefully his essays will carry his voice forward during this year's festival. Absolutely
beautiful writer. And they just recently, that's Beaufort.
Beaufort.
Right? Beaufort. They just recently opened a Pat Conroy
Literacy Center.
Okay.
Yes, they did. And that's kind of to carry, he was a big believer in literacy. And just what we were talking about with SBF at schools, Pat loved this festival. He loved that initiative. And now he's going to carry that on, his name in Beaufort, to help all the kids in the Low Country celebrate the written word.
That's good news, too. All right, I'm going to take a moment. We're going to break away just for a moment. We'll come back around to Kim and talk and before we close out, and and talk more about the book festival for sure. I just wanted to make some references to events and things that are coming up in the city that I try to get out there to folks. Most of the time, to be honest with you, I pull this right out of the Savannah Morning News, but there are fewer newspaper readers these days, so you never know if people actually see these things or if they pay any attention. But there is always such a goodly number of things that are important and interesting going on in the city. I will tell you that February 15th, well, today, this evening from 6 to 7:30, at Montgomery Landings on West 57th Street, open to the public, is Step Up Savannah's, who actually that organization was our debut guest, the very first guest on Savannah Lexicon, so dear to my heart for that reason, but also just because they do such good work. And the Step Up Savannah's residents team is going to host a conversation with the City of Savannah Revenue Director Cindy Landolt about the city's utility billing system. And any of you who have water in the city know exactly what we're talking about there. Something needs to be done about that. Apparently they're in the process of doing something that hopefully will get the billing into some kind of reasonable scenario. But that's 6 to 7:30 tonight. If you want to, that's free and open to the public. If you want to hear what they have to say or perhaps make a comment, there you go. Tomorrow, Savannah City Council meeting, 2 p.m., as usual, at the Council Chambers, second floor, City Hall. Usually begins at 10 a.m., well, a work session and briefing by the city manager usually begins at 10 a.m. in the second floor media room. The actual city council meeting at 2 p.m., right. And again, guys, this is your city council. They're discussing and making decisions about all sorts of things that are of immense interest and impact on you as a resident of the city. So, you might check it out sometime and just see how it's going, what's going on. Also tomorrow, World Affairs Council meeting. The Savannah Council on World Affairs meets at the Coastal Georgia Center on Farm Street. Guest speaker Michael Crepon. I hope I'm pronouncing your name, Michael. My apologies if not. The talk is on nuclear deterrence and President Trump. And I think that's something that might be worth talking about. Social starts at 7:30 p.m. The program actually at 8. Again, free, open to the public. These are excellent opportunities to stay informed not only about local issues but international as well. February 17th, soup chefs to raise funds for Loop It Up Savannah. We've had a Loop It Up representative here as well, another organization that does some good work here in the community for those of lesser means. Local chefs from Cha Bella, Savannah Coffee Roasters, Unforgettable Bakery, compete for the title of Best Tasting Soup, and that is from 6 to 9 at the Bryce Hotel. That is not free. That is a fundraiser, so that one's not free, but it's a worthwhile event for sure. Also, Moving Savannah from Good to Great, 11 a.m. February 17th. The president of 100 Black Men of Savannah, and this, of course, being Black History Month, at St. Leo University's Savannah Education Center at 7426 Hodgson Memorial Drive. You know where I'm talking about. Suite A, again, free and open to the public. All of these organizations and events, no doubt, can be reached by web pages. You can get information about it if you Google it, I'm sure. They do have an email address here on this particular event, stephanie.stinsky, STINSKI, at stleo.edu on the particular Moving Savannah from Good to Great event. Also, Savannah Irish Festival begins February 17th through 19th. It's the 25th anniversary. The dance, the opening dance event on February 17th, festival 18th and 19th. But, this is a different thing, and I think a different time. You might could do that and the book festival. So it doesn't have to be an either-or choice there. Georgia Historical Society's Historical Society Gala at the 2017 Trustees Gala at 7:30 p.m. February 18th at the Hyatt Regency. And I will mention day camp for those grieving loss at Hospice Savannah's Full Circle Bereavement Counselors will hold a day of healing for those whose loved ones have died from 8:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. February 18th at Full Circle Grief and Loss Center, 6000 Business Center Drive. Lastly, let me just mention that district officials want to know what qualities the public wants in the next Savannah Chatham Public Schools superintendent. And so there is a survey, a quality survey available online, www.surveymmonkey.com/GPQNCT3. And also on the district's website, which might be simpler to get to, www.sccpss.com. Okay, check into all of that. Lots of good stuff going on in the city and things you might be interested in. Now, Kim, I'm sorry, we don't have much time left, but gosh, what else can we, let's just recap.
It's Festival Saturday, 9 to 5. On Chippewa, Wright, and Telfair Squares, 40 authors, 7 venues. Looking here at Thomas Dolby, who had the song "She Blinded Me with Science." I would sing it, but that would offend everybody.
I've offended everybody with a little song on the show, so that wouldn't be anything new.
But he's coming, and he's written a memoir. He was one of the first musicians to really incorporate technology into his music. So for all of us that are of a certain age, he will be fascinating.
Yes.
Paula Wallace, the president of SCAD, will be presenting her memoir.
Right.
Be in the Acorn, which I had the opportunity to hear her speak a few months ago. Fascinating story for those of us who maybe weren't here when SCAD was starting to understand truly the magnificent effort that she put out. Frank Bruni, who's an op-ed journalist with the New York Times, he and a co-author have written a book called A Meatloaf in Every Oven, where he kind of talks to chefs, politicians, famous people about the true American classic meatloaf. So those are some of our nonfiction offerings. Fiction-wise, if you love a good mystery, All the Missing Girls by Megan Miranda. She's a YA author who's kind of stepped into the adult genre. She's written an amazing story about 2 women who disappear, and then a decade later, they find out where they went. The other book that I wanted to mention was Among the Living. SCAD professor Jonathan Rabb wrote a fabulous story. I don't know if you've had a chance to talk to him. He wrote it about Savannah. It's a Holocaust survivor who comes in late 40s, early 50s to Savannah. He has survived the concentration camp and has no other family but someone here in Savannah. Comes to live with them, become part of the Jewish community here, and also finds that he's perhaps more in tune with the black community that he is also involved with here than the more established community that survived the war, perhaps without the loss that he did.
Excellent. All right. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you tune in next week again, this same time, same channel. And we'll have another good guest for you next week. Everybody have yourself a wonderful day. And Kim, thank you so much for coming. I wish you much success with this year's book festival. I have no doubt that it's going to be a true winner hearing about it.
Praying for sunshine, and then it'll be great.
There you go. All right. Thanks. You all listen up. Coming up next, Amy Goodman and Democracy Now!
If your business enjoys the programming on WRUU-LP, please support the station with a donation. Let your customers, neighbors, and friends know that you share our vision of building a thriving economy based on a diverse and vibrant community. Our listeners will know you support Savannah's only broad-based community radio station. Become a tower sponsor or underwriter. To check out the levels of corporate sponsorship and to donate, go to www.wruu.org/corporate. Again, to check out the levels of corporate sponsorship and to donate, go to www.wruu.org/corporate. Thank you for listening to and supporting WRUU-LP. You're listening to WRUU-LP, Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings, community radio with global soul.
I cut like a buffalo and bleed like a cactus.